One of the things that I found hardest about struggling through infertility and IVF was how much this journey took over every single part of my life. My relationship, my work, my finances, my friendships, you name it. There isn't a single part of your life that isn't affected when you are trying to conceive. I ended up feeling like a shadow of who I used to be. So how do you move past this, but still leave enough time to focus on bringing your baby home? It is such a hard balance to find, and in today's episode, I'm going to share with you the strategy that I used and that I use with so many of my students, and it is certainly one that I wish I had known sooner. Welcome to your journey to fertility. This is the podcast that blends science with spirit to give you all the tools you need as you navigate your fertility journey. I'm your host, Jennifer Edmonds, and for the last 15 years, I've been helping women on their journeys to motherhood and beyond. I believe that combining the latest scientific research along with the best energetic and mindset practices will help you to avoid putting your life on hold and bring you closer to your baby. Each week, you'll learn ways to support your fertility and trust your body so that you can stop stressing that you'll never have your baby and finally walk your path to motherhood. This is the Your Journey to Fertility podcast. Hello and welcome back to the podcast. I am super excited to have you here with me today. I'm always excited that you are joining me on the podcast, but particularly today because we are kicking off the first in a 3-part series about coming back into alignment when you are trying to conceive. Now, this series is special because it is leading into a very exciting event that I am running at the end of this coming month called Embrace the Journey. This is a free 3-day live series where I'm going to start teaching you some of these regulating tools that I speak about so much on this podcast. I'm sure you are sick of me hearing them. So it's going to be a way for you to come and experience them firsthand yourself. So why is it so important that we do that? And this is something that, as I'm sure if you are a regular listener, that I speak about so much, but we lose ourselves so much in the journey of infertility. And it is, while it's taking over every single part of your life, we need tools and we need practices to help us come back to that sense of who we are. And this isn't something that's going to happen overnight. It takes time and it needs consistency in order to have an impact on your body. So what I'm going to do over this free 3-day series is show you how the beautiful tools of fertility yoga, meditation, and breathwork can be incorporated into your life. And we go through so many things. I'm going to teach you about cycle syncing, nervous system regulation, breathwork, guided meditations, so many things. I could list them here. I'll be here for an hour and a half. And this is a standalone course. This is something where you are going to receive all of the replays of, so you can go back and watch them in your own time and use them when you need them. After we finish this training series, you will have the option of joining the In Your Element Fertility Yoga program. This is something where we take the practice a little bit deeper and we are able to start using it in a more personalized way. The program isn't going to be open again until 2026. So if this is something you've been thinking about, or you just want to get, your toe in the water, what's the analogy? I've forgotten. But it's going to be an amazing way for you to do that. So stay tuned. I will be sharing so many more details about Embrace the Journey, this free series, as we go. But today, this first episode is inspired by a listener who emailed me asking, how can they enjoy their life again? Oh, and I related to this so much, and I'm sure you do as well. And I see posts on social media all the time that just there's nothing to look forward to anymore when you're struggling with infertility. And it's so hard because it's not a medical diagnosis in the sense that you don't know what your longevity is going to be, or it's not like your family and friends it's something that they've been through, so they understand what you're going through. It really is this unique journey where there's nothing physically wrong with you in a broad sense, but at the same time, you just can't go back to who you are. Your life has been changed forever. So I really want to be able to share with you today some tools that helped me get through this sense of being able to live my life again, whether or not my baby was on the way and not knowing when they were going to be on their way, but how could I find some joy in the meantime. So through these 3 episodes that are part of this 3-part series, what I can absolutely promise you is that, okay, no, I'm not here to be able to fix all of your problems, and I can't just make this journey magically go away and fix it with a magic wand. If a magic wand was given to me, I absolutely would take it. But until then, what I'm going to do is give you the tools to lighten the load, to be able to navigate that inner voice, to be able to switch your relationship with stress to one that is a threat in terms of, what am I going to do to be able to get through this day? Everything is a threat to my safety and my sanity. To be able to shift that into something that challenges you and propels you forward. And when you know how to deal with it, and when you know how to work with your brain and your body instead of fighting against it endlessly, that is where change starts to happen. Today, we're going to focus on getting your life back. So, where do we start? You know I love a list. Comes with the type A personality, so we're going to have a list. The first thing on the list is awareness. It is really hard to notice these small incremental changes that happen when you start going through this journey. So one day you might start this sort of inkling that things aren't going to be as easy for you as you'd hoped. And then sooner or later you're starting to get triggered by pregnant women or pregnancy announcements. And then you think that maybe you're going to need fertility treatments, and it just starts to snowball from there. So it's incremental. And I found, especially for myself, that these like small little changes that happened to my life along the way, I didn't notice what a huge impact they were having on me until everything kind of came to a head. I had chronic insomnia. I had to take sleeping tablets, 3 different types of sleeping tablets in order to get a few hours sleep per night. And I had to keep increasing my dose because they would get less and less effective. I would be triggered by everything. So little things that to a, quote unquote normal person wouldn't be triggering, like getting stuck in traffic or just having a disagreement with my husband. Just things would like super throw me off the deep end. And I think when you are in that state where you realize that, wow, all of these things have accumulated to have a really big impact on my life, that's when we become aware. And it's okay if you're at that stage and you feel like it has taken over your life. It's never too late to start unraveling. But if we can catch these things before they start to take over, then that would be beneficial as well. Really acknowledge that this is an emotional roller coaster. The hope, the heartbreak, the comparison, the self-blame, the endless decisions that you have to make, and you don't, your doctor says, well, here are all the options. I'm like, well, how am I meant to know what the best decision is? It is so overwhelming. So just being aware of all of these things that are having an impact on you is huge. And coming into awareness is probably the hardest thing. And it's why I always put this first, because I can't tell you how to become more aware. I can give you, again, some little prompts and some tools, but you've got to come to that on your own. When we are thinking about all of this chronic dysregulation that's happening within our lives, we know that the nervous system's response is survival mode. So you're constantly like bracing for bad news, endlessly Googling, asking ChatGPT, what does this mean? What does that mean? And you are monitoring every little thing, especially within your body. You think, is that cramp implantation? Is that cramp my period is coming? We analyze our bodies so much. We worry about everything that we're eating. We stress about the exercise that we're doing. So chronic stress and dysregulation, as we know, can interfere with the delicate balance that our reproductive hormones have within our body. And that impacts ovulation, it impacts sleep, your luteal phase, it impacts digestion, everything. So we know that chronic stress, chronic dysregulation is a problem, and it is something that we need to address. We are going to address that. But before we get to it, I really want to remind you, and I know you hear this all the time, but it cannot be said enough. None of this is your fault. Your nervous system is very clever at keeping you safe. Your autonomic nervous system is way smarter than all of the smartest people on the planet put together. Because even the most cleverest people that have ever lived, they can't tell your heart to beat every moment of the day. They can't tell your liver to detox whatever is going through your system. They can't tell your gut to digest for you. Your autonomic nervous system does all of it. It is the most highly evolved system within the human body that has evolved over literally hundreds of millions of years. You are no match for this system. So when you are coming up against triggers, things that are not going well, things that you are finding difficult in your life, all your brain and your nervous system is doing is trying to keep you safe. So when you go into that panic mode, when you start thinking that, oh gosh, I'm going to have to brace myself for work today because one of my colleagues is pregnant and I know it's just going to trigger me and I'm going to have a terrible day. You can't beat yourself up about that because this is something that your brain senses as a threat. So all of this ties back to something that I'm going to speak about in a minute, but I just want you to keep in mind that all of your reactions to everything you're going through are not your fault, and it is very, very hard to have any control over it. But having awareness is exactly where we start. So, number 2, we have to come into regulation. We cannot enjoy our lives from a place of chronic dysregulation. It's just not possible. I mean, just imagine if you were spending your entire day running from a tiger. Think, okay, I'm getting in my car. Is the tiger going to be sitting in the back seat? I'm going to bed. Is the tiger under the bed? Like, if there was a constant threat and you were so hypervigilant and always on the lookout for this signal of danger, you can't enjoy your life. You're not going to sit back and enjoy a cup of coffee or go and watch a movie or read a book. No, you are just going to be in this survival mode at all times. And yes, this is me over here again talking about nervous system regulation. I know you are I hope you're not sick of hearing it because as I talk about so often, it is your entire existence. Your nervous system creates your whole life's experience. So when someone reminds you to relax or to breathe deeply, and it's a very flippant thing that people say, but some of these simple little regulating tools that when we are aware of when we're in that moment, it's not helpful for someone to say to you, or just relax, just take a deep breath. But if you can take a moment to become aware of what you're experiencing and just say to yourself, okay, I'm dysregulated. What do I need in this moment? And maybe you're just feeling really irritable and you can't stand still and you need to just shake out your body a little bit. You need to wring out your hands, just rub your arms, just stamp your feet. You can't do all of these things necessarily if you're in a meeting at work or you have to pick your moments. But if you are aware that you are really irritable and you can't sit still, that is a sign that you need to get rid of some of that energy, disperse it through the body. But if you feel that you're just in that state of a little more apathy or a little more hopelessness, or even feeling towards that end where we become a little depressed, that is where those more calming tools can start to bring you back into that present moment as well. So we're going to do a really gentle practice here together. And this is something you can do if you're driving, if you're walking, anywhere at all. You can keep your eyes open if you're driving or walking, please. But otherwise, if you're in a space where you can close your eyes, I want you to do this now. This is only going to take a few seconds. So I want you to just become aware of your body. Can you soften your brow, your jaw? Let your shoulders fall a little more away from your ears. Maybe you're holding tightness and tension in your belly or your pelvic floor that you didn't notice was there. Can you widen your chest just a little? Expand your heart. Just notice how good it feels just to become aware of these little areas of tension and let them go. And take a nice long deep breath all the way in through your nose now. Full big belly breath. Hold for just a moment at the very top. And then through the nose we go into a slow exhale. The slowest exhale you can manage, slower than that inhale. I'm going to do that 2 more times. Full big belly breath. So really use all the expanse of your lungs, your rib cage, your belly, your chest, your upper back. And then release it slowly down. And just take 1 more like that. Beautiful. Then you can just allow your breath to return into its natural rhythm. And you can even hear in my voice, I'm talking more slowly, The tone of my voice has dropped a little bit. Even I'm more regulated. I get so excited when I'm recording podcasts, and I tend to get a little bit overstimulated, and that's fine. But you can really just notice the difference so quickly. So this is a regulating tool. Your breath, I think, is the most powerful regulating tool that you have. So when you're ready, just kind of come back into your natural surroundings and carry on with whatever you were doing. And I want you to know that when we are talking about nervous system regulation, we are not trying to get rid of stress completely. I don't think that's possible. And it isn't really functional. I mean, we need our stress response in order to live our lives. But regulation, instead of meaning we're never going to get stressed, it means that when we are stressed, our bodies can return to a place of calm and safety and trust a lot more easily. What is that quote? We can't necessarily ride the waves, but we can learn to surf. So being able to just balance yourself and your body as you're going through these waves of the roller coaster that is trying to conceive, I think that is what most people miss. And I'm going to help you avoid getting stuck in that endless loop cycle of stress. And when it comes up, I'm going to go through a few more strategies to do that. So, number 3, what can you do to make your life feel easier while you're trying to conceive? I think that we have this thing in mind where we say to ourselves, I will be happy when, I will feel better when I get that positive pregnancy test, when I get to that 12-week scan, when I have my baby. And I think for me, I absolutely thought that as well. I'll be happy when I finally get pregnant. And then what happens if you lose that baby? What happens if you get pregnant, you have the baby, but all of the things that came up when you were trying to conceive, all of the stress and the trauma of everything you went through, what if that is still there and we didn't address that and it is still causing you dysregulation throughout your life? So that's a big question, isn't it? So I'm going to go through some things that I find are really, really helpful, not just for me, and I go through a lot of these with my students as well. I did an episode, I think it was last month or the one before, that was entitled How to Stop Doing All the Things When You Were Trying to Conceive. So I recommend go back and listen to that episode, because it's really easy to get lost in that loop of let's do the 25 supplements a day, let's do all the holistic treatments available, let's go and get 800 different doctors' opinions and do all the functional testing, and there's benefit in all of these things. But when you're doing all of them from a place of that sort of desperation and that grabbing and that I will feel better if I do this and only if it gets me pregnant, they're coming from that energy, I think is not doing us any favors. So go back and listen to that episode. I think that you'll get a lot out of that if you haven't already. We need to talk about self-care, and self-care is not about doing things that are going to get you pregnant. So it's not like saying to yourself, okay, I'm going to book a weekend away because I know that relaxing with my partner is the one thing I need to do and that's going to get me pregnant. We've all heard it. Go on a holiday, blah, blah, blah. Or I'm going to go for a massage and sort of help my body relax because it will help me get pregnant this month. Self-care needs to come from a place of I'm going to go and do this because it feels good for my body. And that is the only reason that you should go and do it. Yes, these things are going to have the side benefit of perhaps balancing out a little bit of our cortisol and helping us feel more calm and regulated, improving our sleep. That is amazing. But I really want you to think about what things can you do in life that make you feel good on their own. And they don't have to mean anything else than that. That's where I want you to go. That's where we want to start adding more of those things into your day. I want you to plan at least one thing. It can be 500, that's fine too. One thing each week that you are looking forward to. And it is not fertility related. This could be, I get to go for a walk along the beach. I am going to look, who knows if this is possible for everyone. I'm going to take half a day off work on Friday. I'm going to go and get a massage. I'm going to go home early and have a bubble bath. Like, just plan something that you can look forward to each week. Even if it's little, let's book a date night. Let's go to bed early. Let's read our favorite book. I really want you to get into the practice of having things to look forward to. And please try to get out of the habit of making them related to fertility. Come back to your life. What did you look forward to, 5-10 years ago before having a family was even on your radar? Really think about those. We also need to talk about boundaries. Now, we talk about boundaries a lot in this community, and I think that's an amazing thing. But usually when we're talking about boundaries, it's about where do I need to put boundaries in relation to other people? So protecting your own heart and your mental health. And there's so much value in that. You need to conserve your energy. But I think we need to also place boundaries on ourselves. When you are going through something as difficult as infertility, we know there are certain things that are going to make life more difficult for us. For example, if you go night after night after night having a terrible night's sleep because you've been scrolling on social media till 11:30 and then it is impossible for your brain to switch off and go to sleep, that is not something that is helping you at all. So we need to think about what are we doing in our lives and what boundaries can we gently place upon ourselves to relieve some of that stress that they might be causing. I find that scrolling social media first thing in the morning is another big one as well. So just that mindlessness, that tendency to go for your phone when you're bored, and then knowing that potentially you are going to be triggered by things that you see on social media, or even non-fertility related. Anyone just has to open any news site at the moment to see what is going on in the world to be enormously triggered. Our nervous systems, our poor brains, they were not designed to have the capacity to deal with these horrific problems of everybody in the world all at the one time. I'm not saying don't read the news and be completely ignorant about what's going on, but choose when you read the news, when you want to open your phone. Let's get out of that habit of just reaching for the phone every time you're feeling bored or you don't know what else to do or you're looking for a way to distract yourself. So come back to your regulating tools. Yoga, meditation, breathwork, they're my favorites, but you're going to find your own. I am completely aware that yoga isn't for everyone. I'm a yoga and meditation teacher, so of course that's what I love to speak about. But you go find your tools that work for you. Maybe it is being out in nature, it's going to the beach, it's doing a particular form of exercise, it's being with certain people, journaling, reading, little practices that help you. So I hope when you put all of those things together, that starts to give you some tools to start living your life from a place of how can I bring a little more ease and joy back into my day, just today. And you only need to decide moment by moment. You don't need to decide and plan next month, next year. Let's just take it day by day. All right, last thing on the list. So I'm going to give you some homework. I maybe probably shouldn't call it homework. No one wants to do homework. I am going to give you some optional homework, but I highly encourage you to do this. It is a journaling practice. I'm going to give you a couple of journaling prompts. So if, again, you are out walking or you're driving, then perhaps this is something you just want to save and come back to later when you've got the time and space. This will take you no more than 10 minutes. I really encourage you to do this because it deepens your ability to take on board all of these practices and everything that we're talking about and to integrate them. So integration, I think, means coming from the mind into the body. And we talk about the mind-body connection a lot, but it is so, so important. It is not separate. It is something that we can't get away from. So we can hear all of these things and we can go, yes, I agree with that. Yes, I'm going to, but to actually put it into practice really brings your body into it. And that's where we make change. So I'm going to give you 2 journaling prompts. They're 2 questions that you can write down and that I want you to go through. So the first question is, what would it feel like to live without the fear of never having my baby? So it's not about what would I do if I never had my baby or how do I plan my life around the idea of not being able to have my baby. No, I want you to write down, if I could live my life knowing that my baby was on the way, I had no fear. Just, I know as I know that tomorrow the sun is going to rise and the day after that, and the day after that. There's no question in your mind. It isn't something that you even think about because it's such a deep entrenched belief. If I had that same belief that my baby was on the way, how would I feel and how would I show up in my life and how would I feel within my body? And then the second question I want you to write down is, when I picture my life without fear, How does this show up physically? So it might be helpful for you when you're writing these out. Don't think about it too much. I just want you to write down whatever comes to mind. So maybe when you think about the fear of never having your baby, what do you notice in your body? So is there a heaviness in the chest? Do you feel like your head starts throbbing, or you get constricted in your throat, whatever it might be? And then ask yourself, take a few deep breaths, and then ask yourself, if I could live my life without this fear, if I knew my baby was on the way, then how would I feel within my body? So those two questions, what would it feel like to live without this fear of never having my baby? And when I picture my life without this fear, how does it show up in my body? And I encourage you to spend just 2 minutes visualizing and visiting that person that already has the baby, already has the dream life. If you're going to focus on all of the what could go wrong and all of the terrible worst case scenarios that we tend to build up in our minds, you owe it to yourself to spend 2 minutes a day just entertaining the idea that maybe you get everything that you ever wanted. I did. I see people doing this every single day. And often it comes from the most unexpected places. When doctors told them it was never going to happen, it is possible. And I want you to start getting into that space of you are capable and it is possible for you too. So tell me what you came up with. I invite you to share your answers or any kind of takeaways that you have. You can voice note me. I love the little voice note, little tool that we have in the show notes. You can just send me a quick download, DM me, send me an email. I would love to hear from you. So if this resonated with you, I want you to know that all of this kind of stuff is exactly what we are going to be working alongside together in my free training series at the end of this month. So registrations are open. If you want to put your name down, visit the link in the show notes. It is www.elementpilatesyoga.com/waitlist. That way you'll receive all of the details. We start on Tuesday, the 29th of July. So put that date down in your diary. Register right now and you are going to get all of that information straight to your inbox. It is going to be such a safe place for you to just come home to yourself again. And I get chills when I think about things like that. It is where your nervous system, your body, and your heart all get to have that support that you need. So I'm going to be sharing a little bit more in upcoming episodes, but if you're already curious, like I said, put your name down, reach out to me if you have any questions. So to recap today, I want you to go back and listen again if you have the time and if you need to. But in brief, we want to start with awareness. We want to go through all of our regulating tools. Plan something for yourself this week, like right now, plan it right now that you are going to look forward to. And then write out your journaling prompts and let me know how you go. So next week, we are diving into part 2 of this free series. And the theme around this is going to be from disconnected to being in sync with your body. We're going to talk about how to rebuild trust with your body and reconnect with your intuition on this journey. Something I am so obsessed with. So you don't want to miss it. I'm going to see you back here next week for that episode. But until then, I am sending you all my wishes as you continue your own journey to fertility.